What is up, Pappy Daily Takes? I am back for the first time in a very long time. The NBA is back, so I am back. Didn't really have many thoughts daily while the NBA wasn't in session. Um, yeah, it would have been very repetitive thoughts. But again, the league is back, so I am back. It has been a incredible first week of bubble basketball. I think that for the most part, every game outside of what the Kings Magic game was. By the way, Jonathan Isaac, get well soon. Um, well, yeah, get well soon, and hope you have a speedy recovery. What other game was? Oh, the Clippers Pelicans game, in which the Pelicans got absolutely lambasted and should be punished by the league for their performance in that game. But yeah, every game has pretty much been great action. Um, I've enjoyed every single game, and I think the NBA has put on a great show. I think it looks better than what I could have imagined it looking at first. Like, to the point where I really don't even. The only time I notice the crowd isn't there is like when it's down the stretch and it's like a game winner and like it's kind of quiet at the end. It's probably the only time I really notice the crowd that's not there. Other than that, I love the spectacle that's been put on. I love the fact that the NBA is allowing the players to express themselves, and I love that the players are taking it upon them to express themselves. I don't think that this is like it's something that's gonna change the world. But I do appreciate the fact of the conversations that it may lead people to having. With the social justice initiatives on the back of the jerseys. Even kneeling for the anthem or the Black Lives Matter. Being on the court. I appreciate the fact that me as an African American, I feel represented. I appreciate that. Again, like I said, I don't think it's going to change the world, but I appreciate the representation. This is something that, at least on this scale, I don't think you've seen before. But moving away from that, there was a game last night. There was a great game last night. There was the Bucks and there was the Rockets last night. Now, that game was so exciting to me because honestly, at first, I thought the Rockets were going to get lambasted. I looked and I'm like, yo, Giannis going to run wild. The Rockets playing small. Giannis going to run wild. This ain't going to work. What I didn't think about was the fact the Bucks don't really guard a three-point line. The Bucks are a team that we want to protect the paint, which I understand. But they're a team that doesn't guard the three-point line well. The Rockets took, 61 threes? I think they hit 21 of them. I think they tied the NBA record. They tied the NBA record for most threes taken in a game, if I'm not mistaken. Well, yeah, in a game in regulation, if I'm not mistaken, and they hit 21 of them. Obviously, that's like 30%. So the Rockets didn't even shoot well. PJ Tucker, missed almost every three outside of a couple. But encouraging to me. The Rockets' last two victories have been very, very encouraging to me. The game that they had against the Mavericks, I think they just seem a little bit more resilient than they have in the past. I can think that's just what Russell Westbrook brings to this basketball team. Even you saw last night when Harden took that step back three from like 30 feet, that like basically I'm giving up shot from like 30 feet. And then the next two possessions went to Russ, and Russ basically won the game for him offensively. And what we got to talk about right now is James Harden's defense. For the last two games, defensively, James Harden has stepped up and honestly made some of the biggest, probably the biggest defensive plays of the game, been in back-to-back games. Last game, the game against Luka, against the Mavericks and Luka. Now, granted, obviously they did, run up a crazy score, but in crunch time, when it mattered, in overtime, who was there guarding Luka Doncic? James Harden. Last night, the work that Harden did on Giannis in the post was some of the best post defense I damn near seen on Giannis all year. But this is not new. This happened last year when they maxed up. Harden defended Giannis pretty well in the post. I think the narrative about James Harden not playing defense needs to stop. I think it's an old narrative. I think it's a tired narrative. I think that it was something that 4 or 5 years ago was very true. Like you see the videos of him just getting blown by, not even look like he's attempting to play defense. But here in 2020, that narrative needs to stop. Honestly, James Harden is arguably, outside of Marcus Smart, the best post defender at his position. Outside of Marcus Smart and Chris Paul, I would say, he is the best post defender at his position. Period, in the NBA. Period. And granted, I know that steals do not necessarily equate to defense. But one thing that you cannot deny is that James Harden has been consistently near the top of the league in steals season, consistently near the top of the league, if not leading the league in steals every single season. So he finds a way to be effective consistently on that side of the basketball game. He has some of the best hands for a guard in the league when it comes to, quick hand swiping the ball. You even saw him getting steals on, Giannis yesterday. I think he had like 5 steals yesterday. You guys need to respect James Harden defense. Now, granted, James Harden isn't Tony Allen. He's not a guy who's going to go out there and, shut you down or something like that and, hold you to 10 points. But for him to be as diabolical of an offensive weapon that he is, if he can go out there and consistently play the defense that he's been playing, is good enough. In my opinion, James Harden should have been on the all-defensive team last year. And if you look at the voting last year, he got some votes. If I'm not mistaken, he got 16 votes for all-defensive second team, but he got 2 votes for all-defensive first team. He tied Jimmy Butler in votes for all-defensive first team last year, so people agree with me. James Harden's defense is vastly improved. He is one of the best post-up guard post defenders at his position in the NBA. And again, the Rockets defense doesn't work without James Harden being at least a solid defender and attempting to play defense. That's also why I think the defense was so bad during the season. I thought before they made the trade, for Robert Covington and bringing over a guy like that who, even though he's 6'7", and he's not, like 6'10", 6'11", he's big enough and long enough that he can still play center and do it pretty effectively. He can rebound in basketball. I mean, you even saw against the Mavericks. You have 2 trees down there. You got Porzingis, and you had, I think it was Maxi Kleber that was actually on the court. Forgive me if it wasn't Maxi Kleber, but I think it was Maxi Kleber on the court. He comes up with the tip to put the game in overtime. I think last night he had 10 rebounds. He does a decent job at least putting his body in the way of people, so he can, match up against a Giannis. He can match up against a LeBron. Like, granted, is he gonna go out there and hold him to no points? Obviously, he's not. But he can go out there, put his body in the way, mix it up with him. He's also a good shooter. And I think he's one of the key components also to this Rockets basketball team. I just want to say, I know everybody feels the way they feel about the Rockets, but again, if this team is gonna shoot that many threes, they weren't even hot last night. Like, they were actually cold. If Jeff Green shoots about 40% from 3, if PJ Tucker shoots anywhere near his actual percentage from 3, which he was way below it last night, if he shoots anywhere near his actual percentage from 3, that game isn't even close. Now, granted, I do understand that the Rockets were missing. Well, not the Rockets, the Bucks. They were missing Eric Bledsoe. They also were missing Pat Connaughton. So sometimes it seemed like Middleton, Giannis, and Lopez had to do kind of everything. I don't think George here really gave him too much. Wesley Matthews didn't really give him too much. Defensively, he did a good job on Harden for the most part, but offensively, he didn't give him too much. The bench, like I said, wasn't really too engaged. I think, Bledsoe obviously bringing him in, that's like 15 points. Pat Connaughton, that's also a spark off the bench. So I do understand that they were missing them. But the Rockets were missing Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon is a guy who's been consistently hurt all season. Hopefully, he can come back, get his, ankle right and give him something. Because you got E.G., Ben McLemore, Austin Rivers coming off the bench. With the way that Ben McLemore been shooting the ball, I've never seen this man shoot the ball like this before. With the way Ben McLemore's been shooting the ball, with the range that Eric Gordon gives you, and Austin Rivers, honestly, when you talk about his first step, I think his first step is one of like the quickest first steps in the league, which makes him very good in isolation. Like, it's hard to stay in front of Austin Rivers. He can get to the cup, he can finish, he can also shoot the ball. I think that he's big for the Rockets coming off the bench. But again, man, the thing I want to hone in on today is Harden's defense. I know people, say what they say about James Harden on that side of the ball, and like I said, I think a lot of that is old narrative, and people need to put on the tape, look at the tape, study the tape, and see what the man has been doing consistently for the past 2 years. Like I said, I think he deserved to be on the all-defensive team last year. I forgot who was second team all-defense, but whoever was second team in the guard spot, Harden should have been over them. Harden, again, was, I think, last year the best post defender in the league, percentile, whatever stat you want to go by, the best. If not the best, he was top 3. And again, he was also near the tops of the league in steals. If that shouldn't get you all defense, I don't know what should get you all defense. He shouldn't be first team. He should have been second team. And again, if Harden's going to continue playing defense the way he's been playing it these past 2 games, granted, it's just 2 games. It's a long playoffs. We never know what happens. We don't know. But if he going to continue playing defense the way that he's been playing defense these past 2 games, and even look, he's not even shooting the ball that much. People complain about, Harden taking 30 shots. He ain't been doing that. I think last night he took, let me look to be specific. But I'm pretty sure last night he took under 25 shots, which is less than what he averages. Last night, James Harden took James Harden took 14 shots. 14 shots. He got to the line 13 times, but he took 14 shots. That is so below what he was averaging on the season. If he's going to play this way and get everybody else involved, which people talk about him ball hogging and just chucking the ball up. He ain't been doing that. He been playing, getting everybody else involved, trusting his teammates. Jeff Green missing 3 after 3. He's still going to him. Same with PJ Tucker. He missed 3 after 3. He's still going to him. And what Russell Westbrook brings to this team is just passion and energy. I think Russ he's contagious and he just doesn't care. You see, even last night, no fear. You know, he's being guarded by Giannis one-on-one. He pulls up, draws the foul on Giannis. The other play, takes it to the rim, gets fouled again. The line, makes both free throws. I think the fact that his free throw shooting has gone back to what it was in OKC when he was about, 77%, 80%, and not, when he dropped down like 60%. I also think it's a huge thing for this basketball team. So again, watch out for the Rockets, man. Watch out for the Rockets. I think the Clippers would be the worst possible matchup for the Rockets because I think the Clippers can do everything the Rockets can do and maybe do it a little bit better than what the Rockets can do it. But anybody else in the West, I'm telling you, watch out. And again, in the series, I would still go Bucks over Rockets, but last night's told me that it can be a very, very competitive series. And possibly, if the Rockets get hot, they can win any game. Now, yes, they're going to get out-rebounded. But if you're going to shoot 63s and make 23s, we basically making up the fact that you might even have second chance points because we shooting so many threes and we making so many. That's like what, 50-something points off threes, maybe 60-something points off threes. So crazy amount of points off threes. And the pace that they play with all game is coming at you. We up, down. And James Harden, again, during the season, I don't think he was healthy. I think there was a point in time once we passed 2020 where James Harden wasn't healthy. I think he had a thigh issue or something like that. I remember watching the game in Utah. He got like hit in the thigh. Really hadn't moved the same since. He looks fully healthy now. Like, I haven't seen James Harden look like this since, I want to say, maybe last year. The year before, 2018, 2019 was the last time I saw James Harden look like this. And again, that James Harden, I love Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is one of the best, point guards ever. But Chris Paul doesn't have the velocity that a Russell Westbrook has. So again, last night was very, very encouraging to me. We'll see what they do. I think they play who do they play next? Let me actually look who they play next. The Rockets play the Blazers next. We'll see. I mean, the way it's looking, I honestly think it's a chance that they could possibly, now I don't think it'll happen, but they could possibly go undefeated in these 7 games. I honestly think they could. Like, when I look at their schedule, I don't really see too much resistance left on the schedule for them. But, we'll see. But the main thing I want to hone in on today is respect James Harden's defense. Stop going off narratives. James Harden is one of the best guard post, if not the best, one of the best guard post defenders in the league and has some of the best hands in the league. James Harden is a damn good defender. And stop going off narratives. It's not 2016 anymore. Respect Harden's defense. Put some respect on that man defensively. Paris Daily Takes.